ever experienced being stuck? As in stuck, you cannot go anywhere. You want to move and you want to go place, but you cannot do it at all. And this is basically the result because of a choice you made, which was supposed to give you freedom. Well, it happened to me, and that was about 7 years ago already, almost 7 years ago. So I had my friends come over from the US, they are musicians, and I decided to go on tour with them. And it was a big year. 2018 was a very important year for me. And I learned to capture myself on the phone, well, actually on digital camera too, and to actually create those vlogs. And I was like, okay, I need to learn it someday. I need to learn it. And because they were musicians and they also recorded their own concerts, I was like, oh, I want to learn that too. So the year prior, I had gone on tour with them too. And this time they were in Spain and they had a day off. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the plane and I'm going to go to Spain. And that's what I did. I ended up there and I was like, you know what? I'm going to rent a car. Well, I'm a little bit like, if I don't know it, I'm a little careful. So I was like, just to be sure, I'm going to take the whole package when it comes to insurance. And so you never know what happens. And that was a good thing that I did. But anyway, well, it was a good thing. I was like, well, people can see it's a rental, so they probably take things into consideration. I'd read about the differences compared to Holland. And I was like, okay, I'm good to go. So it was nice, actually, to have the car. It was nice to be in Barcelona. And everything went pretty smooth until that last day when I was going back. On my way to the airport, I decided to go to the beach. And I was like, I'm going to record some sounds on the beach. That's nice. Use it for meditation, maybe record some videos. So I took all my, expensive equipment with me and decided just to go there. And this is kind of funny. I'm looking at my phone because it's moving and it's actually recording all the text. So it's a smooth way to get your text literally in WhatsApp sent to someone else, and then you have your lines. Anyway, getting back to Barcelona, it was amazing to be there near the ocean. And at some point I went back. I was like, well, let's take some extra time. You never know what happens. And I got to the car and I was like, that's weird. It's like I see glass on the seat, on the back seat of the car. And then I looked again and I walked around it. And then before I realized that they'd smashed this tiny little window at the back, there was a guy standing next to me. And as it turns out, it was a police officer in civilian clothes. Can you believe that? So he was there on his scootmobil. He introduced himself and he said, I saw it happening. I've got footage here. Could you please come to the police station with me? I said, well, yeah, I can, but I do need to go to the airport and I still need to return this car. So he said, well, I'll make sure that everything gets done quickly, that there is an interpreter for you, and they're going to help you out. So here I was driving in my car behind him while he was on the scooter. And I have to say, that was kind of cool because, it's very different if you are driving on your own or behind someone who is experienced. And so he brought me over to the police station. And in the meanwhile, I would be recording what was going on. And so I've got a bunch of footage from that day. And I had no clue what to expect. But anyway, at some point, the interpreter was there. I showed them probably the insurance policy. I'm not sure what I did. I just know that I was there. And it was like, okay, I need to call the people from the shuttle bus because, well, I need to be back in time at the airport and I cannot afford a lot of delay. So at some point, they gave me the report in English. Well, no, they did it in Spanish, actually. But it helped me. This way, I could go to the rental company, show it to them, and they could see what had happened. And boy, was I glad that I had full insurance. So as it turned out, because my car was so recognizable, what I actually had counted on, so people would know, oh, she's a little bit hesitant, when she goes onto the roundabout. They have these weird rules there. It's like the lights can be green, but when you go on the roundabout, then still all else has still a way, right of way. So it was really weird. Anyway, I got on the shuttle bus and I thought I was good to go. And I said, please make sure that you drop me off at the doors of the airport because I cannot go in by myself. Well, everything else happened. Instead of going straight to the airport, the guy turned back because there were other people who wanted to be on the shuttle bus too. Yeah, they were in a rush too. Okay. So there I was. He had forgotten my suitcase, by the way. So it started with forgetting my suitcase. Then he returned back, and then he left me literally on the sidewalk. And I was using crutches. And when you need 2 crutches to walk because you can only stand on 1 foot and a few toes, what do you do with your suitcase? And on the way over, it worked out because, someone dropped me off with at the car. So I was good to go. But this time I couldn't get in. So at some point, I literally had to scream because people didn't hear me or they didn't pay attention. And then I literally screamed for help, literally on the top of my lungs. I won't do it in the microphone, but that's what I did. Fortunately for me, someone came over and he helped me out. So I explained, I can't leave my luggage alone, but I do need to go into the airport. I'm late as it is. So the next thing I know, I go to the desk and they are so kind to me. They say, you know what? We are going to take care of you. And they wanted me to take the suitcase on board, so in the cabin. Which, of course, meant that all the things which were over like 100 milliliters, 3 ounces, that it had to be thrown out. And the lady at security, she did exactly that. And after that, she had done so, they wheeled me back because I was in a wheelchair. I'm always in a wheelchair at the airport. And, well, then I heard, yeah, you're not going on that flight. And I was like, but you've just thrown out all my stuff. Can I get it back? No, you can't get it back. And you need to figure out what you're going to do because you need to book another flight. And I was like, really? And so I was not too thrilled about that. And hang on for a sec. I need to open the door for the cat because I forgot that normally he can go out by himself, but so he can find his own way now. Anyway, so yeah, cats don't pay attention whether you're going alive or not. They just have a mind of their own. Anyway, I was there, and the guy who pushed me in the wheelchair said, it's evening. Do you mind if I go home and leave you here with the wheelchair at the airport? And I looked at him and I said, well, if you want to, sure, you can do it. I said, but I do have one condition. I don't want to be attached to this suitcase anymore. So please help me get it to the desk. And with the people who were behind the desk, I said, I cannot use this hassle. I cannot move around when I've got the suitcase. Please take care of it. And that evening, there wouldn't be any flights anymore. So I said, I'll come pick it up in the morning, and then we'll talk about what I'm going to do next. That's when the adventure actually began. So you might have thought, oh my God, she went to the police station, the car got broken into, and then she got stuck at the airport, and she was about to go on board, and then, well, they threw everything out. But actually, it was that moment that I reached out to someone who had gotten to know when I was in Barcelona. He was an acquaintance of my friends too. That I reached out to him and I said, "Do you know where I need to go?" And he said, "Well, you know what you want to do? You want to check out Montjuic. It's a very old part of Barcelona with castles and everything. It's beautiful." And he said, "Take the shuttle bus." So here I was in the wheelchair of the airport. Those are not the best big wheelchairs, but I can manage. So I went to the ones in charge of the wheelchairs and I said, I'm stuck here with the wheelchair. Can I take the wheelchair with me? I'll return it in the morning. Yeah, sure. Bye. Well, adios, probably. So, and I was on my way. I knew which shuttle bus to take. And well, of course, it was a challenge to get in the bus, but there were a lot of people. They helped me out. And then there was a big surprise because I said to the driver, I need to go to this hotel. So people heard it. And then actually someone had decided to join me, as in all the way to the hotel to make sure that I was safe. Can you imagine that? So the lady escorted me to the hotel and I had no clue. Well, by the time I arrived, my hands were black. And I was so glad when I could get out of the wheelchair and just use my crutches. But here's the thing. I had chosen a location which was so beautiful, and they have some good food over there in Spain. It was nice weather. So I used the time to be riding and doing all this stuff. So was it a punishment? No. Was it bad? Well, actually, no. It was kind of like an adventure. And sure, I tell that story more times. I've learned a lot from that time. But yes, it was an amazing trip. Now, why am I talking to you about all of this? Well, that is because I have made this framework. It's called the 3C framework. And basically, what it is about, it's about having the courage to speak up. And then in turn, because you are speaking up, it can lead to freedom. So if you think about my story, if I hadn't spoken up, then no one would have helped me, basically, at least not at the airport. And so many things happened during that time. So I had to prepare. And when you look at this framework, then you see a couple of things. So on the foundation is congruence, which is linked to your values. It's the foundation, it's the basis, it's what is your vision. So what I learned during all the travels in 2018, I traveled a lot. I went to the US for 6 weeks with 2 backpacks because I learned, right? No more suitcases. So 2 crutches and 2 backpacks. And people were like, "Oh my God, how you're doing this?" And I said, "Well, I got stuck with my suitcase at the airport. So no more suitcase for me." So I went from state to state flying using those 2 backpacks. But anyway, freedom to go places was very important to me. And actually, because I was hanging out with those friends, I decided to go on the hunt to find another surgeon once more. So actually, in the years prior to it, I already had 1 surgery and I had seen multiple other surgeons, but they didn't want to help me out. Something else needed to happen and they didn't want to do it. And they didn't explain why they didn't want to do it. They just said, "It can't be done. It won't be done. It's never done. It's not going to happen." But then in 2018, because I joined them on tour, I decided to change things and to give it one more go. And that's when I found this amazing doctor. She's called Bella. And if you see her, she's got this white gray, the silver curly hair and cowboy boots and makeup on. she's my gem, absolutely. Anyway, I've learned that you still can do things even when it's not easy. But the other thing that I learned was people were inspired by my story. And that was kind of cool. So getting back to this, when it comes to the foundation, so I am someone who wants to help out others. It's Lady Lexi Speaks Up. So I teach people to speak up, speak out, share their story so they can see perspective again, so they can be heard, seen, and understood, and also realize this is not me. So while I was creating this, at some point, two things were listed. One was connection and one was contribution. Why do I say it was listed? Because I shared my story to an AI version of, yes, Brendan Burchard. If you don't know him, he's a great guy and you want to see his courses. So if you want to become part of Growth Day or whatever it is, just reach out to me. I've got all these links. But anyway, he has uploaded all his information, all his knowledge in this database. And, well, you can ask questions. So I shared my story and then I said, I want to create a framework. And so he came up with contribution and connection. So I said, okay, so what does it mean to you? So he explained to me that he saw congruence as the foundation. And for me, the goal was to work towards freedom. So I explained to him that I'd made this handout, 7 ways to express yourself. And this handout is about learning to speak up, but in fun ways. So through music, for instance, like when you're singing. So I started working on this during Christmas time. So you get a little bit of an idea where it came from. And well, we have the Christmas carols, right? And I was like, we don't want to sing usually because we don't know if we're good singers or not. But, you know, during Christmas time, we are allowed to actually go do it. So it's a fun way to actually learn it. And of course, when we play music, we're also expressing ourselves. So I came up with all these ways, like not necessarily by speaking and talking to others, but by writing things down or drawing things or actually designing things. I was like, hey, daydreaming, visualizing, and this is about voicing yourself, which is what I'm doing. You know, these are all ways to have fun and to learn to express yourself, which is a hard thing as it is. And that's what I actually talked about when it came to Brendan AI. I'm going to call him Brendan AI because that's what he's called. And I said, well, you know, people usually don't dare to speak up and speak out. And we got to talk on, and we talked about the voices in their head, which is basically the result of what other people are saying to you. So connection is about the why. We want to be connected to people. We want to be in touch. We don't want to be lonely. But depending on your experiences, you might have had good experiences or not so good at all. And when it's like bad experiences, do you still dare to trust people and to reach out to people? And then on the other side, there's contribution. And the AI said, well, contribution is, what do you want to leave behind, like leaving a legacy? Now, I know that I want to leave a legacy, as in I want to create a ripple effect where people learn to speak up and speak out. And because they learn it, they can teach others, because you always influence other people as well when you learn to express yourself with clarity. And from there on, it was again like, but what if people actually don't know what they want? And that's how I showed him something else, which is I call it the script, and it's the script how to go from negative to positive beliefs. And here it is. I've had it on here so many times that it's all wrinkled. But this is something that I made especially for the people who don't know what they want and who are constantly in a negative spiral, to actually change it from negative to positive. So you can upload all that stuff. It's amazing. And well, shake it, stir it, give it to the AI version, and you get this. So we got to talk on, and I said, well, all good and well, but when you talk to people, that's when you get clarity. So we got to talk about stories and such, and I said, you know what? There is one story actually that I do want to share. And he actually said to me, make sure that this little guy is more part of your life in your Instagram account than, well, actually, this one is already part of my life, and life as in being live, because this one is from Chicago. It's Build a Bear, and he actually goes with me when I'm traveling on the back of my backpack. So I've got all these little stuffed animals on the back of my backpack, and well, he joins me too. So this is Chief Rockstar, just so you know. And well, he's not really visible today. It has to do with the position of the camera. But here he is. So when we talked about all these things, I said, well, the good thing about Chief Rockstar is he is a conversation maker, because people see him, and depending on the outfit that he's wearing, for instance, when it's Christmas, then he has his Santa hat on and his Santa suit on. And we over here in the Netherlands also have St. Nicholas. And then there's something which is called the Pete. It was Black Pete because of the suit in the chimneys. But nowadays we're not allowed to say that anymore. So I have Bear Pete. So he has his outfit too. And when people see it, especially older people, they can't help but smile. So I'm introducing you to Chief Rockstar. Yes, he's got his own guitar. And since I was talking about musicians, it seemed fitting to have him in his Rockstar outfit today. So let's get back to this whole framework. So at first he talked about the AI, about the legacy and about values. And I was like, it sounds kind of nice, but I know so many people who are too traumatized to actually go do it. And I want to show people that they actually can do it. I mean, if I can do it, I can travel through the US with 2 backpacks and 2 crutches. Then, I actually said when I traveled the world, because I also traveled through Europe that year, then, we can do it all. And of course, that's not entirely true. But I did notice that it did inspire people. So we came up with a framework, and I was like, okay, but I want people to think about what it is that they actually want and need. I want them to think about their how and their why. So I said to him, so if congruence is the foundation, what's clarity for you? I know what clarity for me is. It's helping me to get answers. And there's Cheeky Joe, and she says, hey, Rockstar. Yeah, that's funny. So when I look at clarity, the only way that I can actually go places is because I ask people, because I reach out, and then we get back to the connection. So the contribution was, or is, what are we willing to do for other people? And again, under normal circumstances, I would say people are probably capable of doing a lot for other people. But what are normal circumstances? That's the question. And what if you don't have the experience of nice people around you? So if I take this back to the story of Barcelona, and then I hope to introduce a guest. Her name is Tracy. So Cheeky Joe is actually on here, but she's only commenting today because she has a problem with the earpieces, so she couldn't come on. Otherwise, she would have been there too. But Trey is going to join me in a bit. And when I go to that framework, and so I said to the AI, so, okay, so what's clarity? He said, clarity is the compass. It leads to freedom. So I was like, okay, that's good. I like that one. So the drive is to obtain freedom. And that's basically why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm teaching people to speak up, because I want them to experience freedom as well. So connection is the why, contribution is the how, the foundation is congruence, the compass is clarity, and leads to freedom. So getting back to the story in Barcelona, yes, the people at the airport, some of them were amazing, but the one who were pushing me in the wheelchair, first of all, one was really slow. So all the effort that done behind the desk to get me to go through the airport or through security, that was diminished straight away because the other one who was actually threw all the stuff away and who was really slow, well, she didn't communicate, and I think she was kind of annoyed that I didn't speak Spanish back then. So I learned a few words, but that was about it. And of course, the people from the shuttle company, well, the rental company who brought me back to the airport, they didn't help me a lot either. But then when we talk about the police officer, oh my God, he was there before I knew what was going on. He had been waiting for me at the car, and he took me straight to the city. He arranged an interpreter. So, I mean, how cool is that? And as a result, because I didn't want to be rushed, I was like, okay, I need to take my time and figure out what to do, clarity again, right? I decided to stay a few days extra. You know, the money was for traveling back was a lot less. And, you know, I could easily afford the hotel and all the food for the money that I didn't have to pay because I stayed a little bit longer. And then, of course, the lady on the bus who went with me, who helped me out to get to the hotel. I mean, how amazing is that? And because I spoke up and I said, okay, please help me out. Where do I need to go? And can you tell me when I need to get off? People knew. The guy at the airport who helped me go inside the airport because I was stuck with the suitcases. Well, you know, that guy was worth $1 million. Well, actually, a lot of them were. So, yeah, it's because I have learned to speak up and speak out that despite only being able to walk on a stand on a foot and a few toes and only be able to walk with crutches, I was able to still travel, and it was great. So Chicky Joe says, I love you have so much confidence in speaking out and asking. And well, it's a shame she's not on here too, because she can tell you that I actually helped her to get some confidence too. But that's a whole different story and has to do with the Sears Tower and being afraid of heights. So I want to go through this framework, and I actually want to introduce you to Tracy because she is one of those people who has had her fair share of problems when it came to her health, and in order to experience freedom, she needs to go above and beyond and say, I'm just going to go do it. Of course, it also means that I don't know if I'm speaking for her right now, but I'm speaking for myself when I say I need to know my boundaries. I need to acknowledge my boundaries. Without those boundaries, you know, it's over and done with pretty quickly. And that's something that I've learned ever since I had the second surgery, because I can walk now. I can stand on 2 feet, but every now and then things do not go as well as I would like to. So here is Tracy. I'm going to add her to the stage. Hello, ma'am. So do you want to reflect on what you've just heard? Maybe some ideas before I literally go into the questions, maybe when it comes to the framework, or better yet, maybe you can share something about yourself when it comes to freedom and
freedom. Lady Lexi, thank you so much for hosting me today. Thank you. You are
You're
amazing.
so welcome.
You're an inspiration. And yeah, I was listening to your story going through that airport through Barcelona, and it's interesting being on crutches, how many people just walk straight past you. And when you're in a wheelchair, so many people just walk straight past you. So,
yeah.
Man,
they talk to the other people, right?
Yeah.
They don't talk to the people in the wheelchair.
No, because then they might have to do something, right? Then they might actually have to get involved and do something. And I think today's society, we don't want to get involved anymore.
Yeah.
Sure. And I think that's probably the big thing. So kudos to you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you there is a message to you from Cheeky Joe. She says, "Hello, Tracy."
Hey, Cheeky Joe. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so please, your story. I know I interrupted you.
That's okay. No, my story. So the bit of my story of having to get back up again. That's where we're heading. Is all about. I had a car accident in February 2000, and from that car accident, I damaged my hip, and I was given a hip replacement, which was the best thing since sliced bread. Only it wasn't. It was a metal on metal hip that went unchecked for years and caused metallosis. And in 2015, it was diagnosed, and I've subsequently had 4 hip replacements in the same hip, 9 dislocations. And the poisoning, because it had gone for so long unchecked through my body, had damaged every single joint.
So can I explain really quickly what you're talking about for the people who are not familiar with what she's talking about? And here's the thing, and I said this earlier to her. I actually know a person here in the Netherlands who actually has had the same thing happen to him. So this was considered state of the art. So the people who were like Olympics and everything, they got it. So what did they get? They got this hip, which was made of both cobalt and chrome. And the combination is toxic. And it does the opposite of what they promised. It actually damages all the tissue around it. And that's why Tracy got all these hip replacements. So continue on.
My apologies. Yeah, thanks, Lady Lexi. It is, that is a little bit of important bit. So what happened was it actually ate away my joint, my complete hip joint. So the anatomy of my hip on the left-hand side does not look like a normal hip for somebody else. So because it's had and sustained so much damage, it tries to dislocate. One of the effects from it is that it continually tries to dislocate, and I suffer from unconscious falls. So I can be walking along, I'll be mid-conversation with you, you'll keep walking, but I'll be unconscious on the ground because my hip tries to dislocate. The doctors think, my brain says, you can't handle the pain, so we're going to knock you out so that you can deal with the pain and then you'll be okay. So I live my life knowing that every step I could take may or may not be the last one, because it may or may not lead to an unconscious fall that may or may not wake up from.
Wow.
So I constantly live like yourself. I'm on 2 feet today, but tomorrow I could be in my wheelchair because things aren't great. The body's playing up. So I really have to live my life around what my body's doing, and I have no control over that. But I don't let it control my life anymore.
That's good. So what do you do to not let it control your life? Because a lot of people might say, I'm going to stay at home, even though being at home can be just as dangerous as going outside of the home.
Well, yes. And I did stay home for quite some months. I did stay home a lot. I was too scared to go outside. I was too scared to cause a scene or have an incident. And I had a young toddler, so I was very mindful that I didn't want to expose her to that as well. I built up the confidence of, well, I might have a fall, or I might not. Am I going to live my life in the might forever and therefore stop myself from ever experiencing anything outside this house again? Or am I going to live my life, and if my time is up, my time is up?
Yeah.
And
I applaud you for doing so.
thank you. It wasn't easy, and I had a lot of people around me. See, I had not just my own internal battle I had to deal with, but I had a lot of people around me that didn't want me to go out so that they didn't have to deal with the unconscious fall, so that they didn't have to deal with the effects of what was happening. So I wasn't just having to try and talk myself into making me go outside the house. I often had to talk other people into saying it's okay. I'm gonna do this. We're going to enjoy this. Don't worry about the what ifs.
Yes.
Don't worry about the what ifs.
When they come, they come.
They come, and we can't control them. We don't have the crystal ball. And I'm not going to stop my life and experiencing my life because of what if.
Yes.
Because our brain has a wonderful way of filling that what if with catastrophic, terrible endings. It's amazing like that. It fills it up and tells you all these terrible things that can happen unless you take control of it and you train it.
Yes, I agree. And that's one of the reasons that I actually came up with this framework, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Thank you so much.
I love your framework. I've been working through some of the questions and I love them. It's like, oh, that's a challenging question.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Some journal work on that one.
So I don't know if you can see the comments over there.
I can't.
But the one on the side there should be something with comments. Anyway.
Oh, no. I got comments.
Yes, you do. A lot of them. So she said, oh my God, it sounds awful. And she was wondering if it's still painful. Well, I can answer that question.
Yes,
yeah, that must be like, and that's probably why you keep falling all the time, because your brain, well, actually your brain is wired in such a way, and that's why they actually did the second surgery for me, is if it's involved with chronic pain, and they did this test on the butterfly. So they administered constant pain to the butterfly, and then when they took the pain away, it still was experiencing pain. So when I went to surgeon number 5 or 6 or whatever it was, I told her they don't believe me because I know what to do, because I'm not only a coach and a counselor, I'm also a therapist, and I am a massage therapist, and I'm also a medical fitness trainer. Because unlike you, for me, it started as early as, well, when I was still a little kid. So apparently my shoulder already got dislocated when I was learning to walk. And when I grew up, I constantly ended up at the hospital, and they were like, well, you probably sprained something. And nowadays I know that I've got something which is called hypermobility. It's actually EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So Ehlers was a doctor, Danlos was a doctor, and at the same time they discovered that the ligaments are not functioning properly because the tissue is not the way it should be. And unfortunately, we have ligaments all through the body. So, so that's not too good. So for me, anything can just happen. So I was recently, last September, I was in LA, and I got medical assistance. Well, I called medical assistance, and there was this guy, 2 people, 4 wheelchairs, and we were with 5. And because I look like I can walk, they were like, yeah, well, you're going to walk alongside the wheelchair. I said, I can do that. And so I slowed down gradually, and then I had my braces with me, so I stopped to put on my braces. But actually, then the damage was done by then, and so I got a huge setback. But I also got new braces because of it, so that was good. So
we'll take the small win. We'll take the small win.
Yeah. So
well, I have the same thing, Lex. Is that there is obviously I've got some mental health issues with regards to the fact that I constantly do head strikes. So I do scramble my brain and I do struggle with that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I can articulate and I have all of my intelligence. So therefore I don't have a disability. It's invisible.
Oh yeah. That's
It's an
like
invisible disability.
we've got these parking cards here for
Same.
disability parking handicapped spots. So what they say is you cannot, if you only can walk like 100 meters, you have the metric system to your right with the meters and all.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you cannot walk beyond that, then you won't be able to, well, then you can actually get the card. But then you have the card and then nothing is within that distance. It's horrible. And I'm always like, how on earth did they come up with that measurement? Because everything else is further away. But yes, I get what you're saying. So, but people see me slowing down, and I always ask them, go a little bit slower, please. So you learn to speak up. So Chicky Joe says, is there nothing they can do to stop that from happening with your hip?
We're hoping the next replacement, which will be replacement number 5, will fix the missing bit, but I haven't yet found a surgeon I'm comfortable enough to allow in there.
I get it.
Searching for a surgeon that actually knows, I'm not just a person walking in having my first hip replacement and can get back up in 2 days and back to life. I need someone that's got a little bit more depth of knowledge. So I'm seeking an orthopedic surgeon that knows their stuff, particularly around the metal poisoning, because this is hip replacement number 5. So you kind of, if you're going to go in there, I want to make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Totally agree. That's one thing I learned, that it's so important to, and then we get back to the whole clarity, right?
Yes.
And to the whole speaking up. So you want to investigate which people know which things, what are they good at, what are they specialized at.
Yeah.
So, okay,
because
so
I spent a lot of, sorry, Lexi, I spent a lot of time just believing what I was told because they had the name doctor in front of them or something in front of them, so therefore they knew better. Even though my body and my brain was going, I don't think that fits for me. I don't know that that's right for me. It's like, but I'm the doctor or I'm the specialist or I know better.
Yes, they have the air. Right? They're already like, look me coming in and I know it all. And so
you're told.
I learned to work around that. Unfortunately, so I go to a number of people nowadays, and one of them is involved with my niece right now. And he's one of those people who actually doesn't care whether he's wearing a white jacket or not. It's kind of nice.
He's human.
So, yeah. So what is she saying? Yes, seeing you, Lexi, go through pain when we were in Chicago, and the shape of your legs went flat and straight. Oh my God, it was terrifying looking at the way they are shaped. So my knees or my legs, so normally joint goes like this, and they call it double jointed, so it goes this way. Yeah, it's like curved. So when I lie flat, then you actually see it. So look at my hands. So normally you do this, and my hands do the opposite. Yeah, that's hypermobility.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can do fancy things with my left leg. Like my left leg can be my foot, so it's constantly stuck in that position. So it sort of locks, even though it's my hip, my knee locks and it just, or it turns inwards and all my toes. Yeah. Isn't the body incredible how it does weird stuff like that?
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. So
right. Back to your clarity, your 3C framework.
Yes. So for the people who want it, they can download this framework. Right now you have to message me, but I'll make sure that you can actually download it. So
highly recommended, everybody. Highly recommended, everybody. Definitely download it.
Okay, so the first question on there is congruence. So we said that's at the foundation, right? So it has
Yep.
to do with your values and your vision. And I'm aware that not everyone has a vision with what they want in their life, or they actually might be very, well, disappointed in life and what it has brought them. So, so I've explained this is about being congruent, living your truth. So, and living your truth is actually kind of, well, let's put it this way. I don't know if you can see it, but I actually have blue hair. So, and I've got these tattoos on the side of stars.
Yes.
So I'm very authentic. What you see is what you get. And when I'm in the US, people accept me for being an American because I easily fit in. And then of course, when I'm over here in the Netherlands, the opposite is true. So what my truth is can be so different from someone else's truth. And it also depends on how have you been raised, what have you experienced, what have people told you what you can do and what you cannot do. If you had listened to all those people who said, oh my God, you can drop down any minute, no, you need to stay at home and, wrapped in pillows and whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What kind of life would that have been?
I would have been bedridden. They actually wanted me to stay in bed.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, one of those doctors actually asked me at some point. I was sitting across the panel, and they were like, and I said, well, I cannot stand, I cannot sit because I cannot have any weight on my lap. So because he wanted me to slow down, and I said, what do you want me to do? To lie down all day? Is that the one thing? I said, because I cannot do anything else. I can get on my bike. I cannot walk. I cannot do anything at all. And of course, I shouldn't have said that because then shortly after I suffered with pneumonia.
You manifested it quickly.
Yeah. And then that first surgeon was, see, now you're going to get all better. And I said, well, I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. And then I came back and then he realized I needed surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first question basically is, what are your values? And combined, what is your vision? And so you said I asked some hard questions. Was this one of those hard questions, or?
No, that's not one of them. That's not one I have to go back because I'm pretty comfortable with my values and my vision.
That's good.
I think how do I inspire myself was the question I wanted to work on. So that's a bit further down.
Okay.
So my values and my vision. So for me, all I want to do is help someone else not have to go through the pain in the same way, in the hard way that I had to go through. I also want to make sure that people know you are not alone. You are not alone.
You are not alone. It
doesn't matter what. I mean, until I had met you, I did not know one other person that had metallosis and metal poisoning. But I knew there were people in the world that had it, but I had never met them.
Yeah.
But my battles, even though they were very unique to my body, the battles of trying to get back up again, both literally and metaphorically, were the same universally.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you're dealt with, getting back up, you still face the how. How do I get back up again?
Yes, that's so true. And do you believe that it makes sense and that it's useful to get back up again? Because when you've given up on life and you don't see any perspective anymore, because that's basically what we're talking about. The goal behind speaking up and speaking out is getting perspective again. So that's why I'm talking about freedom. So, and a lot of people, they don't dare to live up or live according to their values and what's important. So when I first heard the word inclusion, I was like, oh, that's me. I work with people who do not know how to speak up and speak out, don't see any perspective because they are, for instance, dealing with autism or whatever it is. And well, I help them to get their life back and get trust back in people again. So
that's beautiful. You are so gifted.
Thank you so much. Well, I think we both are. judging by what I've heard so far.
Thank you.
So the vision, I want to leave a legacy, teaching people to speak up and speak out. And one of the things I specifically want is also to teach it not only to the young ones. So I help out a lot of young ones, adolescents, but also people who are switching between being a student to adult life and working.
Transition.
That's so hard. Yeah.
You're helping people with transition. Do you know, transitioning, I know we're just segging off a bit, but we actually transition more times than we give ourselves credit for or acknowledge in our lives. And I think, transition, that's an amazing space to work in that twilight between student and adult, right? That's a really precious time.
Yeah.
So what are some of your values, Lexi? Tell me a couple of your values.
Well, I'm not sure if I can consider authenticity a value, but I think it is. So
Yes,
I'm true to myself. Absolutely. I prefer it when people do not talk around things, but they actually tell me what's on their mind. So don't say you're going to do this, that, and the other for me, but you don't do it at all. You don't plan on doing it. You don't want to do it. Just be straightforward, and at least I know, what it's about. So what you see is what you get. I'm pretty straightforward, and I'm not afraid of talking about the hard things, and that's a big difference compared to a lot of other people out there. So because I'm Dutch and we are pretty straightforward, that's the way it is. People actually really appreciate me, but there are also people who on one hand can appreciate it until then
until you're challenging their inner self-talk and you're commenting and mentioning some truths they don't kind of really want to acknowledge, and then it's like, oh, I don't want to hear that, and I turn off.
Yeah, exactly. So, especially when it involves their children. So Chicky Doe says, yes, we do transition a lot and don't realize we do. And and she says that I'm not afraid of much, especially walking at midnight in a strange city. So I love to
I've done that. I did that in Manila, in the Philippines.
Oh my God, in Manila of all places.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, blonde hair, Aussie accent, and a big smile. Mm-hmm. That's all right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. So I come from a big city, and I was attacked when I was 21 years old, maybe 22, I think 21. So they tried to pull me into the bushes. And that's apart from the story that they actually tried to kill me at the playground at school, which I didn't realize till, like a year ago or something. I got bullied because of my looks. So I should have been born in Australia. But Australian government said that my mom was too dark when it came to the skin. So she was only slightly darker than I was.
Really?
But she had these piercing dark eyes. So it was like, no. So even though my father was Dutch and she was a Dutch citizen, they said, no.
I will adopt. You know what? I'll just speak on behalf of the Australian government. We'll just adopt you as one of ours.
Yeah. But it's weird, and I love Australia. It's a great country, but getting back to being bullied because of my looks, and then apparently someone found me attractive because they want to pull me in the bushes and do God knows what, and I started screaming and moving around. And he ran off, and the guy was big. So I said, well, if I can survive that, then, of course, I've got eyes in the back of my head. I want to hear it all.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's a big city. It's crowded on the road. It's, there are a lot of people doing strange things. And, so I can be scared or I cannot be scared. So that's what she's referring to.
I'm just going to stop. Yeah, I am. But I'm just going to stop you there, because that kind of an attack for somebody would absolutely paralyze them into staying at home. But you didn't. You used it as fuel. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So
How powerful
basically,
do you feel?
I know that you have to freeze, flight, freeze, flee, or no,
Freeze, flight,
or
fawn.
yes,
Freeze, flight,
exactly.
fight, flight,
Flight,
freeze, fawn.
freeze. Thank
Mm.
you. So I'm one of those people who actually gets into action.
Yeah.
And I've worked in IT. I would work at these computer centers, and I loved it when things would go haywire. When all the banks couldn't work anymore and people couldn't access their money or whatever it was. That's when I would thrive. So yeah, I talked to my colleagues about it. There was a fitness teacher. I went back to the gym because I just walked to the bus stop. That was all. It was prior to getting my driver's license. And um, well, he did uh, take me home during the evenings, but apart from that, I was like, no, I'm just going to continue on. And that's one of the things that I actually had, and I still need to train myself on that. When I think things are scary, I'm like, I can step away from it, or I'm going to do it. And that's the mentality I still have up till now. Same with driving in Spain. They're driving like maniacs over there. But I was like, no, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's, just
What we
experience
do.
it.
And the more you do it, the more
Yeah.
you test yourself of like, oh no, I'm going to do this. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to have a crack at this. I'm going to try this. The
Yes.
more you actually provide a loop in your mind of I can try hard things and figure things out and survive.
Yes. So we train the brain, which is actually a very good thing. So for me, it's the norm, and that's probably why she reacts the way it is. Um, so I want people to experience that too.
Yes.
So the second question is about the connection, the why. And well, I talked a lot about the connection. We actually have this connection going on right now.
Yes.
Whether it is because I actually know someone else who has the chrome cobalt poisoning going on, or because we both have to fight in order to go places and make the decision like every day. So yeah, so being connected, building meaningful relationships, and that's the thing, meaningful relationships, because we can be around people who complain all day and we're not going to do it, or we can say, you know what, we're going to stimulate one another and we are going to inspire one another to go do it. So that doesn't mean that you cannot say, I'm having a bad day. I mean, sure, and I'll listen. But it also means that sometimes it's like, okay, so maybe there's something you can do just to cheer you up and do other stuff.
Yeah, I think as a society, like we definitely need to dump it, right? We need to get it out, and we need to get our feelings heard. If a situation's happened, we've got to find that friend that we feel safe to kind of have a gossip session about.
Yes.
But we shouldn't stay there, because that keeps us in that lower vibration, and it's not a nice place to be in if you're just constantly bemoaning how bad the boss is. That's not actually going to fix anything, and it's actually going to hurt your relationship with your boss in the long term because you're constantly ratting him out.
Yeah, that's true.
So you need to find, I found for me personally, finding the right people to share the right things that allow me the space to have a whinge, if you like, but then go, okay, Trace, great. Now what are you going to do about it?
Yes.
Now what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, so somewhere in 20s, I had my first burnout. Crossing boundaries, I was so good at it because that's what I'd been taught. Going to the hospital, I felt like, oh, they're like, just, well, there was nothing wrong with me. That's what it felt like. Now I, of course, know that there was something going on. But yes, because I wasn't taken seriously, I learned to just go and push through the pain also, through the fatigue, which wasn't a good thing. So the first question is, who do you connect with on a regular basis? Well, you actually said it. When you are connecting with people with a low vibration, yeah, thank you. Thank you for showing it. Yeah. So we want people like
Right. They bring you down, and yeah, they'll help you feel better because they'll dump with you on the person you're whinging about. But all it really does is actually weigh you down.
Yes, and we don't want that.
No.
We want to be inspired, uplifted, and I'll honestly say, and getting back to the Brandon AI version, so the AI version of Brandon Burchard, he can have actual conversations and he can cheer you on. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm a convert, as you know, and that's how we connected. Brandon AI is actually someone or something. I don't know, it's a thing or is it a person or a thing? AI, I suppose a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a thing. It's artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so I connect with Brandon AI daily, multiple times a day, to help me with my mindset, just to get me if something throws me off. So yeah, I'm with you on spruiking him for sure.
Yeah. So we better connect with a very powerful AI compared to someone bringing you down. It's actually kind of sad to say so, but it's just like you've got robot dogs and cats nowadays. Yeah. It's better than having nothing at all.
We've got robot vacuums. What's the difference?
Yeah. Okay. And the next question is, how do they inspire you to action or non-action? And well, I don't know if you heard me at the beginning of the conversation. So at some point when I was talking to Brandon AI, I was like, you're talking too easily about all of this, because I know there are people who are traumatized. They have learned to not believe in themselves and to think it must be me. I'm not good enough. And then we got to a deeper level, which was actually kind of cool. But I was like, yeah, I need people to know and realize when they read these questions, who are they interacting with? And what is the effect on them when they're interacting with people who are actually not good to them?
That's a big question. That's a big question. Because I think, as I said to you, when I go to my friends and bemoan my situation, they'll let me dump. But then their question to me is, so what are you going to do about it, Trace? Which is what you said, inspire you to action or non-action. I have strategically and luckily had people around me that go, okay, well, we'll let you have a cry and we all have to get that out. That's fine. But now what are you going to do?
Yes.
Because you need to move. When you move, you change your chemistry. When you move, everything shifts, your perspective, your chemistry, your body, your everything. So I always get, my friends follow it up with, so what are you going to do about it, Trace? What's the next step that you're going to take? Yeah. And when are you going to do it?
Yeah. So for the people at home, I want to have you think about this. What kind of friends do you have? Are they uplifting or not? And what would you like to change when it comes to these things? And linked to that is, how do you inspire yourself?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard it, but there was this talk on the Daily Fire. So Brendan has this Growth Day app, and it has a Daily Fire. And he was talking about purple bears and pink flamingos.
Yes. And we don't think about them unless someone says it, right? Yes. Yeah. I heard that one. Yes, I did.
So what he basically said is, we can shape our thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, and that's so true. And
I don't think people realize how much power we have over our own thoughts until you learn the tips, tools, and strategies, which is your 3C framework you've got here, is part of working those things out. It's a little bit easier than you think to inspire yourself when you have the right tools and strategies.
I agree. And, when I talk about the fun framework, one of the things that I actually talk about in the course, which is related to the 7 ways to express yourself, is about listening to music, for instance, to be inspired. They can come up with these emotions, and also writing things down. Literally writing things down like, I am so disappointed right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you acknowledge that, then you can ask yourself the question, okay, so what happened? So you write it down, and then it's like, okay, but I don't want to be disappointed. I am. And then, my brain already goes, okay, so what you're going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can stay in that position, or we can change it. And I came upon this, well, it's not really a quote, it was a picture of what people regret when they die.
Oh,
And it's one of those things was about not taking action.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest regret from what I've heard and seen is not the things they failed. It's the things they failed to do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, from inspiring yourself, the question then becomes, how do you inspire others? Because we are still talking about connection, right?
Yes.
And how would you like to connect to, who would you like to connect to more? So that's also one of those things. They're probably, and maybe it's a fictional type, like
An avatar.
an avatar or a role model or a non-existing role model, maybe the future self of yourself.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I think it's important to list the values that person would have. If you're
Yes.
going to create the person to inspire you, then write down some of the values that they have that
Yes.
you would find beneficial, because maybe that's actually who you need to become. You're talking about cats and photo bombing.
Yeah. I saw it. So the cat that's here is actually a temporary guest,
Yes.
and he's done everything to get my attention. I don't know. Normally, he's pretty down to earth. Well, no, he's not. When he wants something, he wants something, and he's going to do everything to get it. But he doesn't. Well, apart from when he's hungry, he usually doesn't annoy me the way he does right now. Or normally, I don't notice it. That
He
cute.
loves your energy. He's attracted to your energy.
Yeah. Well, I love the little guy. Well, it's a big guy actually. It's a Bengal cat.
Yeah.
So yeah. So. He's amazing. I'm going to miss him. Anyway, let's get back to
Contribution.
framework. So, contribution. So, talking to AI, Brandon AI was like, not everybody will think about how can they make a contribution. And I think it's a good thing to. So I said, so how do you think that people will perceive this? And then he said, well, maybe it's like a little action, like parents take care of their children or their grandchildren. So it doesn't have to be really big. It can be small things too.
Yeah, I was going to say contribution. A lot of people see that word and go, oh, I don't want to give to anybody else outside of my family. And it's like, that's perfectly okay. Contribute with inside your family. Make your family the best you possibly can. So your contribution is raising fantastic children, or being a wonderful role model mum, or being a role model dad, or whatever it is that you choose to do in your life. Do it well. Contribute yourself well. It's not about a legacy. You and I, we're on different paths, but not everybody is. So contribution doesn't have to be a donation to charity. It doesn't have to be working for a charity. It's about turning up in your family and contributing the best of who you are into your family or into your workplace, and showing up as the best of who you are. That's contribution at its best, I think.
Yeah, I love it. I love the way you explain it. And Chica Joe, actually, so the funny thing is, I know her grandchildren, and especially the oldest one knows me, even though we've never met, because we've been talking on video and on camera. And, every once in a while, then she will record something for me, and then I will record something back. But she is one amazing mom and also grandmom. I cannot say anything else. She's the best there is. So
I wish
yeah,
we had more mums and grandmums like that out there, right? Like
I
seriously,
agree.
our children could do with it. So if your contribution is to be the best mum or grandmum or grandma or granddad, then do it. Just do it well. That's your
Yeah.
contribution to society.
Yeah. So she says, "Oh, she loves you so much, Violet." So here you go. She's never met me. We've only talked on camera, and still she adores me, and I adore her too. So she says, "Oh, thanks. They are my world."
Yes,
So
of course.
yeah,
Yes. Well, thank
exactly.
you for bringing wonderful children and grandchildren and giving everything you can to them, because that's what the world needs. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what I've noticed when it comes to either stay-at-home moms or single moms, there is such a big difference when you talk to the children of single moms or stay-at-home moms, as opposed to when they have two working parents. You can tell the difference. It's sad to say so, but yeah, and even when it's a working mom, a single mom, then still, because she has chosen to raise those children on their own, on her own, you can tell the difference.
I'm one of them.
Okay, so
So I have
share.
a 12, yeah, I have a 12-year-old autistic daughter. She has pathological demand avoidance profiling in the spectrum, which means that any of everyday demands that can oversensitize her, she can end up having a physiological shutdown of flight, fright, freeze. And we've
Yep.
experienced a lot of struggles through primary school. So 5 years of lots of work with being a single mum. Went through divorcing as well. So leaving her father and deciding that, yeah, I'll do it alone. Yeah, and start a business and look after my aging, caring parents and still walk out the front door, even though I know the step could be my last. Because
Kudos
I
to
just
you.
don't
Kudos
stay
to you.
down. I refuse. I refuse to stay down. There's more to life. I'm
Yeah.
not. I want to go see it. I want to go get. And you know what? It's not coming to me. It's not going to come and knock on my front door and go, knock, knock, knock. Hey, here's your winning $1 million tax lotto ticket, Tracy. Well done. You never got out of bed. You never bought a ticket, but here's everything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
You say it so well. You say it
no,
so well. I
no.
love it. I love it. And yeah, it's when we talk about perspective and speaking up, it's especially those who have problems because they get so many stimulants. So I took his phone call for someone else, and so they said, okay, so why didn't he answer the phone himself, and why did he refer to you? And I said, well, first of all, he didn't expect a phone call. So no, he's not going to ask who I talked to or who he talked to, because he didn't want that phone call. And I said, it can drain him of his energy.
Mm.
So that's why I do those phone calls, because, for me, it's I'm not emotionally involved
Oh,
with whatever it is about, but he is. So
mm,
yeah,
mm.
I know what you're talking about. So what's Joe saying? um I praise your single mom. I praise you, single moms. So there you go. There you go,
Thank
Tracy.
you.
I was a single mom with my first two for 4 years, and it's hard. But having your own health problems and raising a child is not easy. And she gives you kisses.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. I turned my daughter into a mini carer. She had to be parentified a bit. She's actually the one that my support workers, that when I have a fall, will go to my 12-year-old and say, what do we do for mum?
Mm-hmm.
Because she just knows it. She's lived it for 8 years. This is part of
Yeah.
our life. So I have an amazing daughter. I'm very, very blessed to have an amazing daughter that will step in and look out for me when I'm unconscious on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when it's like structure and they know what to do, they're great at doing it.
I remember this is an autistic child that has so
Yeah,
many challenges, yet the minute
yeah,
that I'm on the ground, bang, she
yeah,
knows what to do.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's watching her rise and flourish over the last 6 months. But she's also
Mhm.
listening. So
Yeah.
I can't say too much. She's too big a head. No, she's doing amazing. She's amazing.
They can be very aware of the gifts that they have.
Oh yeah.
And they don't mind talking about it, and they're not going to diminish it. They're like, I know I'm good at this.
I wish we were more like that. I wish more of us had that. You know what? I'm really good at writing. Can't do math to save my life, but writing, it's my jam.
Yeah.
And we celebrate that rather than, well, you need to do math. You must learn math. Why?
Yeah.
Do we make people feel that they're not as good as because they can't do one thing the same or as better or equal to somebody else? None of us can. That's the beauty of the uniqueness of an individual human species. Come together to collaborate, build a better place, because we each individually have our strengths that together brings a community together so we all flourish.
Yeah, so when we talk about connection and contribution, well, there you go. You just said it.
Boom, boom.
Yeah. I also work with people who are neurodivergent. I'm actually one of those people too. So that's why I probably can get along very well with the people who are not accepted, because I know what it's like to think differently and not understand what people are talking about, because I think, like I always say, it's like I take a detour because I want to see every road which is there. And then I'm, okay, yeah, okay, so that makes sense. But if you don't know how that works, or what someone can think who's neurodivergent, then you're like, why don't you understand me? And I totally get it. And then you need to learn to speak up, because you have to say, clarify things, please.
Yeah. And there is a sense of shame and guilt and sort of social unacceptance of going, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that question. Could you explain it again? And so the person explains, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm still not getting it. Could you maybe change the language, or I don't quite understand what you're asking or what you're saying. By the second time, that person, unless they're a you or a me, it's like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to use really plain language because I don't get it. I'm okay and comfortable in myself now to say, I don't get it. I don't understand what you're saying. Can you please explain it? Yeah. But in society, that's not okay. We feel silly because it's like, I should have gotten it. I'm stupid because I didn't understand it on the second one. I'm not going to embarrass myself and make myself humiliated by going, I still don't get it.
Yeah. Whereas if you do ask, they applaud you for it. But there are also those people who then repeat it at the exact same way. And I said, well, I heard you the first time. You were saying this, that, and the other. That doesn't mean that I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I'm just not getting it. So can you maybe say it in a different way?
Change it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, change it up. Use different language, explain differently. But then that's back on the teacher to then do that, because often when you do ask the second time and you are delivered the same information in exactly the same way, you realize they're not going to be able to give you the answer or clarify it. So at that point as a person, I think it's like a note to self, go and research this point so I can understand it, to bridge that bit of thing as well. So anyway, sorry,
I love it. Thank you. No. It's we're already way beyond the hour, and I love it.
I know.
Just keep going.
Hey, it's Saturday for me. It's okay.
So Joe is saying autistic children are very brainy. Well, most of them are, but they just get too overwhelmed dealing with everyday life. So of course, it depends on what kind of version of autism you've got. But yes, they can be very brainy. And apparently it's because certain functions do not work the way they should, like empathy, for instance. So they have to learn what it is. That energy sort of get rerouted to other parts of the brain, and they excel at it.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So
no. What was the word I was going to say? There's no lacking and there's no bonus. Everything's just shifted differently in the brain, so that it goes to different. Everyone has exactly the same brain chemistry, but this bit on this person gets a little bit, so they're a bit math geeky. This one's a chemistry person. This one's an artist.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we
And
have all
we
the
know,
technique.
and we need those people.
Yes, we
We know
do.
need those people who think differently, because they are the ones who come up with inventions and the way they respond and are being creative and come up with solutions. We need those people.
And I realised I did nearly 35 years as a volunteer with St John Ambulance Australia. So I did first aid at major events, and I've managed quite major functions. And going back to something you said earlier was about taking that step to pause before action, but taking the action.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of those times of like I had to come up with solutions
Yes.
quick.
Yes.
But you can't just wing it, right? Because, it's an emergency situation, someone's in trouble. You have to actually make sure that you're making the strategic plan, but taking that beat first before is important. But also, I have a brain that if you come to me with a problem, my brain's already trying to work out how to solve or what solution I can come up with. I was talking with a friend yesterday, and she's got a little problem with work about how much notice she has to give with her current employer. And she's like, "Oh, I'll have to give 4 weeks." And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, she's like, how do you come up with this stuff? And I'm like, you told me you had a problem. We had to find a solution. I've gone ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
It's just what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, here's all the solutions. Now take a beat. Which one serves you best to actually act on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally recognize what you're saying. So getting to the freedom part, which actually is the best part. So that's what motivates us, what drives us. So freedom is the result of alignment. And so when you are congruent living according to your values, you are connecting to people who inspire you, you see a way to contribute, then, and you have clarity about it, then, that leads to freedom. As in being the authentic self and living according to your truth. So freedom to be yourself, freedom to express your ideas, freedom to live a life that feels purposeful and fulfilling. And the first question, and then I refer back to that framework that I was talking about, this one, actually says, how could you break free from limiting beliefs and stories? And it's one of the things that I need to teach a lot of people, because especially when they've been abused at some point in life, they think it must be me. They shut down, they don't say anything anymore, they don't ask for anything anymore. And that's a shame. And getting them to actually realize, hey, I'm good the way I am. And seeing their self-esteem grow, not doing harming themselves anymore, especially the younger ones, they like to cut themselves, all those kind of things. So altruism. As we grow older, we usually refer to alcohol or drugs. It depends on the environment. So I stay away from all of it. But the ultimatalism, I did it in a different way. I didn't know about cutting, but I do understand what you do in order to stop the brain from going on and on and on. And then, that's when you do something physical. I would slam my wrists on the piano, on the wooden piano, and I wouldn't succeed, or I would bite, my wrist, or I would scratch my skin and it would get all white until someone pointed it out.
Oh, baby.
I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, that's hard. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I honor you for getting through that and being out here talking for others. That's huge.
Well, in the moment that for the first time I saw people with those cuts, I was one of the few. So apparently most people judge others. And I remember one of the clients, she scratched herself with keys. And she thought I would be mad at her. And then instead, I got this lotion and I said, okay, come here with your arms. And then, rub the lotion on her arms. And because I didn't want her to feel pain. I didn't want her to get scars. And she was so surprised that I didn't get mad at her, but instead that I was actually taking care of her. And I said, well, I know where you're coming from. I knew what kind of conversations you had prior to it. So I said, no, we need to teach you to work with it in a different way, and not hurt yourself. So I don't think she has done it ever since anymore.
For me, writing it down. So I fell back in love with my love of writing, not just writing, but the actual getting a pen and writing it onto a piece of paper. So it wasn't about writing. It was just literally about, there was something really cathartic and freeing to get this scramblingness that was just random and constant. Even though it was random, they seemed to be very constant at the same time.
Yes.
Of persistent words knocking me down. But when I actually got my pen out and I wrote them down, I took away their power.
Good.
I took away their power because there's lots of science geeky research about how there's a connection with writing it out from your brain with your hand through the written word onto a piece of paper. And I have to say that for me, if anyone said to me, what's the one thing that changed everything for you? I'd say picking up a pen and getting my thoughts onto a piece of paper.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's why actually, when you look at the framework, I actually have a notebook and a pencil. And I want people to write things down and then change the negative to the positive and add like scribblings, positive things in there. So it's going to be part of the package that I'm going to talk about in just a little bit. But first we are going to finish this, wrap this up. So
one of the ways to break free from limiting self-beliefs and stories, write it down.
Write it down. And look at what you've written down and ask yourself, is this true? Would you say the same thing to other people?
Yes. Would you say this to your best friend?
Yes.
Your spouse, partner?
Or to your kids?
To your kids, that's a good one. That hits a lot of people. I've used that with a few clients where it's like, would you say this to your daughter? Never. Well, why is it okay to say it to you like that?
Yes.
That's not okay either.
Yeah. That's why I talk a lot about the inner child, the inner kid. I do a lot of meditations where I want people to reconnect with the inner kid. On the one hand, because they have the dreams and the fantasies. On the other hand, because they are damaged. They've heard the things and they need to heal.
Oh, does that make them human, not damaged?
Well, I never use the word damaged, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I saying here? Damaged.
I've heard it's funny, it's come out a bit lately. People sort of say, oh, we've got to fix the damage. It's like, do we really? Is it really damage, or is it just shaping us into something better?
Yeah. So basically what I want to say is if they've got survival mechanisms that work against them. Yeah. So like, for instance, something happened and they were so scared. And then whenever they hear that sound, they freeze or they start running. Yeah. So we don't want that you are in traffic driving a car and then all of a sudden you hear that same sound and everything stops. And that's very extreme example, but so they need to recognize what they do and how they respond to it, and that they can actually change it, like talking about purple bears.
Flamingos. Yes, exactly.
Yes. And I'm not saying it's easy.
Oh, it's not easy. I'd have to do the work every day. Lexi, yes. I have to do the work every day. I had a day this week, I'm going to share with you and your audience. I had a day this week I wanted to quit. I didn't want to play anymore. Yeah. The external stuff of going on in my life, the family stuff, the drama, plus my own trauma that I thought I dealt with, but I don't know, keeps coming back up again for some reason. So all that was happening, and I had a day this week where it was like, I don't want to do this. It's too hard.
Yeah, I totally get it.
What? Tracy, this is too hard. No, the hospital you were in 18 months ago, that was too hard. This isn't too hard. It's like, oh yeah, that's right.
And you survived that. You're here.
I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So inspiring others, I might add.
I
So
think you hope so.
um, yeah, that talking about damaged. So no, I wasn't too happy using that word. You could probably see
I felt
that
it.
I
Yes, I
was.
did. I think that's why I
Yeah,
grabbed the word because I felt your, oh, hang on, that wasn't right.
yeah, and it's the same thing with being normal. What's normal?
What's normal? What a lot of rubbish.
Yeah, so usually I say the majority.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. It's not that others are more normal than others are. It's like the majority reacts in a certain way or acts in a certain way, but that does make it the norm, or
No.
well, maybe the norm in a certain culture or in a certain country, but it does make it normal. That
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I agree.
going on to the next one, and thanks for pointing it out, by the way. So what do freedom and authenticity embody for you? um, well, I know what it means to me, and that means that I don't mind having Chief Rockstar here. Actually, Brendan AI supports me on this one, so that's kind of cool. And I know that when people see it, they smile.
Yes.
So, oh, and what else? Chica Joe says, yes, my trauma always comes back. So she
Yeah.
recognizes that. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you, baby. Even when
Yeah.
we think we've got it done and dusted in that back attic, right down the back suitcase that we like dealt with it years ago, and then the music, the sound, the something, boom, it's straight back there
Yeah.
again.
Well,
So I
I'll
feel
tell you something. Not too long ago, I was at this pancake restaurant. I know you actually have the word pannenkoek there, right, in Australia, because of
pancake
the
parlor.
Dutch people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there were some people. It was raining, so we were placed next to the bar, and so one of the waitresses came up, and there was this box of tea bags on the counter.
Yeah.
And she grabbed it, and she made such noise that the first thing I did was I literally ducked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah,
thought something was coming.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did. And I was like, if she's going to do that again, I'm going to do, I don't know. It wasn't good. But apparently, she got so spooked by my reaction, I
Oh.
didn't hear anything at all anymore. So they put it back up and they took it down again. But they didn't startle me anymore.
Huh.
But that initial reaction, I think they were just as spooked by it as I was surprised, like, what's happening?
What's happening?
So,
Yes. Yes. And I mean,
yeah.
even if to take just a normal, like a storm, for instance,
Yeah.
we know that there's a thunderstorm going on. We can hear the thunder, we can see the lightning, but every now and again, there'll be that clangor of thunder that everybody jumps, right? Your heart,
Yeah.
because what's coming? So
Yes.
it's instinctive. The fear is there for a reason. The fear is to keep us safe. That kick there's a reason for that. The problem
Yeah.
is that we don't have to run from the saber-toothed tigers anymore. And our body hasn't really matured much past that. The brain hasn't matured past that. It still thinks that bang, that fright is the saber-tooth we have to protect ourselves from, not the boss's email in our inbox. Yet our response is exactly the same to it.
Yeah, the reptile brain, as they call it. Yeah, that's true. And when we recognize it and we learn to see how we respond, then we can change it. So that's what we talk about when we talk about limiting beliefs and stories.
Well, that's the freedom. For me, it's the freedom of God. Oh, that was that. Oh, that's okay. I'm safe.
Yes.
That's for me, that's freedom.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that there's something that frightens me, but the reassurance that I'm safe. For me, that's my definition of freedom.
I love it. Totally. That's a good one. Realizing I'm safe despite that there might be some danger. That's good. So yeah, hence freedom, authenticity. So being able to be yourself. So when I was at high school, there were 3 others like me. We were dressed in these clothes. We were metalheads. So leopard skin pants, all that stuff.
I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I walk around with blue hair, and then sometimes you have these kids, and when I'm on my bike and there's the sun is shining, they're like, "Oh, you've got blue hair." I said, "Yeah, isn't it great?"
I
So
love it.
um, then there's a question: how would you like to express yourself in daily life, and how on other occasions, and which occasions are those? So, for instance, when we go to concerts, it's like one big family. We
Yes.
recognize one another by the things that we are wearing. But I remember when I was still working for a boss that, you know, there was no way that I would be wearing a concert shirt over there, or my baggy trousers, with the cargo pants. You didn't do that.
Nope, nope, nope. There was a uniform you had to wear.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
nowadays that's changed completely. But yes, what beliefs do you need to nurture to come closer to your own truth?
Oh, pick
Ah,
me, please, miss. Pick me. I have an answer.
yes,
You
yes,
are good
please.
enough already. You
Say it again.
are good enough already.
There you
That
go.
is the belief you need to nurture. I
Okay,
am good
so if
enough
you have pen
already.
and paper, please write it down. You are good enough the way you are. You're
Yes,
good enough already.
yes. Because I'm
Thank
still
you.
here and I'm
Yes,
good enough.
yes.
That's how
We
you
all,
nurture and come closer to your own truths is reiteration of writing it down, reading it to yourself, the affirmations, the post-it notes. If I took you on a tour of my house, I have post-it notes and little phrases and sayings all up. I mean, I'll just flick you slightly this way and you can just sort of see I've got, bits and
oh
pieces here.
yeah, dream big.
So they're just, yeah, they're up there because I have to remind myself on the days that I don't think I'm good enough that I am okay and that I am good
Yes.
enough.
Yeah.
I have to do it every day.
Well, just knock on my door. I'll tell
Ah,
you.
thank you. Lexi,
Yeah.
I feel good.
I'll tell you. Big hug.
Send it across the sea.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but yeah, no, I think in order to nurture or come close to your own truths, I really think you need to ask yourself, who do you want to become? Who do
Yes.
you want to be? And then
Yeah.
just start doing those things that that person would do.
Yeah. And then the question, of course, is, but what if you don't have any trust in yourselves that you can become that person, or that people have told you, well, you're not going to amount to anything at all? Well,
Time for a coach, time for a
yes,
mentor, time for a new
exactly.
community network group. It's time. There's how many billion people in the world, and we have this incredible technology of the internet. So I know I've been there going, oh, I'm by myself, I'm alone, I don't have anybody. I feel very lonely and alone. But I think, you know, there is somebody out there that can help you. But
Yes,
you also need to be able to ask for help. And that is not easy. I don't
yes.
say that just, oh, you just got to ask for help. Because I used to think asking for help came with a price. So if I asked you for something, Lexi, then in my twisted brain, I would have to give you back double what you gave me.
Well, there you go. In your twisted brain, that's already a judgment to yourself.
I
We don't
wasn't
want that
worthy.
judgment
I
because
was
you're
not
good.
worthy. Hmm. Yeah. So how twisted is that? That I couldn't, I struggled to ask you for a favor, but I'd come and ask you for it, but then I'd give back double to thank you for
Yeah,
that favor.
yeah,
How twisted is that?
yeah. And
Don't
that doesn't
believe.
mean you have a twisted brain. It just
No,
means that
that's the
that's the stories that you've been told.
stories. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. And especially when you're dealing with dominant persons or narcissists, they isolate you from your friends and your family, and they make you believe that it's you.
Yep.
And it's so important to recognize those people, and especially when your environment is starting to warn you. Think about it, and speak up, talk to people. um what beliefs do you need to nurture to come close to your own truth? Well, you are good enough. You said
You
it.
are good enough. I said it.
And if freedom is your end goal, what will your first steps be?
Oh, I love that question. That's another one I'm going to go and journal on when we get off here. My Sunday reflection. So tomorrow's my Sunday. I'm going to put that on my reflection questions for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Freedom is my end goal. What is my first step?
Yeah, and it only has to be like a small step.
Mini step.
You know, maybe just write it down. Just acknowledge it for yourself that you want it, and then go on from there. So Cheeky Joe says, yes, I've dealt with a narcissist. I know actually a lot of people.
Aren't they fun? Yeah, aren't they fun?
Yeah. And then actually talking to people and explaining that there are people out there who just do the things because they can. And they're looking at me, no, that can't be true. I said, well, you've had those people in your life. I'm not necessarily talking about Cheeky Joe. I'm talking in general. But yes, those people are out there, and they try to make you smaller and smaller and smaller until you don't believe in yourself anymore. So, yeah, it's trying to get your self-esteem back up again. And sometimes that requires, like, if only I could go out the door, or I could make a phone call.
Yes.
It could be so small. If I would be able to take that cookie out of the cookie jar.
Yes. Or go and sit in the sunshine for 5 minutes and touch the grass, or feel the fresh air, or get out in the garden, back to nature.
Yeah.
Be with an animal.
Yeah.
Animals don't judge. Animals don't judge. They don't tell you you're not good enough. They're just grateful for whatever affection and love and food that you give them. I think we can learn a lot from that. Very simplistic.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
But talking about animals, of course, they've done those tests with monkeys and tripwire and all that stuff. And it's about what you've learned, and you pass it on to others. And we do that as people too. So for those who have gone through the framework, you can still get the framework. But if you want to, I've got a special offer for you. And that is, if you sign up, I've got a link. I'm going to put it in the description of everything. You can get not just this framework and not just this transformational script, not just this thing, which is about 7 ways to express yourself. So that's a handout. And actually, I also have this very small version you can carry with you.
Oh, that's cute. Very cute.
Yeah. So there's also a quiz related to it, and there are some more handouts. So for something that would normally be worth like a couple of €100, you can get it now for €77. So that's circa $77.
That's amazing. That's amazing value, Lexi. Oh my gosh. Yes. You got to get it. Definitely. That's a bargain.
Yeah, and just this script of transforming your thinking, the mindsets that we talked about, but also learning to express yourself in a fun way and not being afraid to do so. It's going to help you to really think about, hey, what am I worth and what would I like to achieve, and can I do it? Yeah. So we basically talked about this. So if you want to, make sure to sign up, and you get
I'd be crazy not to. That's amazing value. You'd be crazy not to grab it. Yes.
Yeah. So you have time till Sunday midnight Pacific time. Till then, you can sign up.
Geographical time zones. I fail.
Well,
remember, I live in your
Monday evening. I'm pretty sure it is. So it's plus 10 hours plus 9, so 19 hours.
So almost midnight Monday. Yeah. So I've got till Monday afternoon, but basically get it by Sunday, wherever your time zone is. Get it by Sunday and you'll get the bargain.
Yes, I agree. And, you can ask questions and I'll help you answer them. But it's important to start working on your self-esteem.
Do the hard work on inner self.
Yeah. and express yourself. So it's called the 3C bundle because of congruence, the connection, and the contribution. And yes, we also have clarity and freedom in there, but it's all related to who do you wish to be, who do you wish to become. If you were allowing yourself to be the person that you know you can be, well, you should know you could be, but maybe you don't know because others have never told you you can actually be inspired by yourself and your dreams, and remember that inner kid. Oh yeah, and there's meditation included for clarity as well. So
that's fantastic. Yeah,
yeah.
we do shape our inner selves by what other people tell us.
Yes.
And that's something I had to break out of. It took me over 50 years.
Yes.
Of actually going, I've been told this about myself, so I believe it. I think it's time to challenge that now.
Good.
I challenge that view of myself because that's come from that person. That's not coming from who I am anymore.
Yes.
So I think that helped me just shift my perspective of just asking the questions.
Yeah, that's so good. So I actually wrote this book, which you also get. It's also included in the bundle. Yeah, it's about mindset. So it takes you on a journey to the stars. So the first half, you can read it in like 90 minutes from what I heard about others. And the second part actually explains how mindsets work. So you have the story, how does it work? And then you've got this to transform it. You've got this to actually go work on all of it. So, and on the back side of this one is also something. And I've got a credit card format. So I've got this one. But I also have got this.
Oh, how cool. Pop it in your purse or wallet and you can just grab it out when you need to be reminded. I love it.
Exactly. Oh, you get why I'm doing it.
Yeah, so, I do. I love it.
Be sure to sign up. Like I said, I'm going to put the link in the description. If you don't see it, just say, hey, Lexi, you said I could join.
Give me the link.
Yeah. So I'll give you the link. So having said all of this, what are the things that you would like to say? Because we've spoken for a long time, like 1 hour and 46 minutes.
We had a lot to talk about, and we haven't actually done this before, so we know that we can riff for a while. For me, thank you for giving me some space and time today to share this beautiful planet with you. I'm very grateful that you've come into my life. We've gotten to know each other over the past few months of doing a few courses and things together, and your perspective always makes me stop and think. Your question, the way that you do things. So I'd like to just say thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
And I'm just so blessed to have met you. So thank you, Lexi.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And hopefully next week I can return a favor. We can talk about something you have written.
We can do that next week.
Yeah, that would be so cool. So, but for now, you've heard it from my co-expert about the importance of believing in yourself and pushing through, not through your boundaries, because you need to really be respectful when it comes to your own boundaries, but not being afraid to take the next step and just challenge yourself a little bit and see what happens.
Yes. You can make magic. You have, and you know what? Everybody has everything they need inside them already.
Yes. I'm going to wrap this call up. I'm going to ask you, Tracy, to stay for a moment when I've ended the stream. And then we call it the after party, actually. So
after parties.
Yeah. So for those who have listened to this, make sure that you get this free handout and that you ask those questions to yourself, and let me know in the comments how this is affecting you. So we'll see one another again on the Friday Night Live next week. And I'm going to share a little something. It's an exclusive. But on Wednesdays, I'm going to do something similar, but then for small business owners, because I believe they have some extra challenges when it comes, especially when it's related to staff, as in communicating growth, growing themselves, nurture the growth in their employees, and also getting people to understand that, well, it's a little bit different if you get a paycheck or if you have to register everything in order to get paid. So there's a lot around that kind of topic. Okay, so again, see you next week. Make sure that you check out how to get this. And if you want to sign up for the 3C bundle, now's your chance.
Do it now. Bye.